I read a sad fact about the dodo that's always sort of stuck with me, which is that the dodo, which is of course extinct now, didn't actually have a low intellect. Like, it wasn't particularly dumb compared to other birds, even though you'd think that it was. I mean, the word dodo is sort of synonymous with being stupid these days. That's not the reason it went extinct. It went extinct because naturally, in its environment, it didn't have a lot of predators that it had to worry about killing it. And so, it never developed those kind of instincts, the fight or flight. It was kind of just at peace. It was just like, oh, hey, how's it going? And so when humans arrived in their natural habitat and saw birds as, oh, great, more food, the dodo was like, what was that you were saying? What's this food thing you speak of? And then, they got killed very easily because they didn't have great defenses and it was hard for them to get away. It was just, they had no need for that before, and then suddenly they did. Oh, so much to think about there. That's so sad. That's so sad. And the fact that I now identify with a dodo bird. I mean, maybe the dodo bird would have been cool to have in the 21st century. It's humans' fault that they're not here. It's so sad thinking about how they could be here today. But also just that principle of like, I don't know how to defend myself and how to deal with this incoming threat because I've never previously had to deal with it. Doesn't that just summarize all of life? When the next worst thing that's ever happened to you comes along, you are almost by definition not going to be prepared for it. Because you've never had to deal with it before. I mean, even the worst things that you sometimes read books about and sometimes try to mentally prepare yourself. You run your brain in all these awful cycles of anxiety, preparing for the worst things to happen. And then when they actually do happen, even if they're exactly as you thought about, you still don't really know what to do. Your brain doesn't have any sort of past history, doesn't recognize any pattern of what you should do in this situation. Yeah. I don't totally know what to make of that. I mean, I guess it's probably a sign that I haven't faced anything the equivalent of a hunter trying to kill a dodo bird. I haven't faced anything that was just absolutely inescapable for me, obviously, because I'm still here. I sometimes wish that I wasn't. No, I'm kidding. Kind of. But it's I'm still here. I have survived everything so far. So usually the consequence for not being totally prepared isn't death. It's just some big emotional turmoil, maybe in some cases injury. But shy of dying, I mean, they do say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I mean, you do get thicker skin through all the things that you experience. Through all those unexpected predators in life that come along. Not literal predators, but disease and loss and bankruptcy or whatever. Whatever life thing that, I mean, it's hard because it feels like, okay, well, now I want to just be prepared for every horrible thing that could happen to me. But if you do that, then you don't appreciate the state that you're in right now, which is nothing horrible happening to you. Do you notice that at any given time, you're actually kind of okay? There's not immediate death, on the horizon for you right this second. It's really hard to appreciate that until you're in a situation where you are very, very unsafe, and you're like, oh my God, if I just get out of this, unsafe situation, then I promise, I'll do all this great stuff. But yeah, the poor dodo bird. But then I also think about it, and maybe it's not as sad as I think. Because the dodo bird wasn't overcome with anxiety or adrenaline naturally. It didn't live its life in fear. And yeah, it meant that it was less capable of dealing with environmental factors that came along unexpectedly. But hey, it also meant that it was just kind of, oh, what's going on? And then didn't have any time to worry about anything. just lived its life as a bird. In a way, that sounds kind of nice. Makes me think of this old, like, Buddhist story of, like, a monk in a town that's being raided, and a guy comes up to him meditating and, like, commands that he do something. He says, no. He says, he pulls out a sword and says, like, you don't understand. I could kill you without batting an eye. And the monk looks at him and says, no, you don't understand. I could die without batting an eye. I'm not saying that the ultimate answer to everything is to just be totally fine with, like, the absolute worst things happening. I think that we should do our best to live as long lives as possible. But to have just a little bit less of our defense mechanism, to be able to work a little bit away from that, like the Dodo did. Or like the Dodo didn't even have to try to, just that was their natural state. Would I feel just a little bit more okay if I was open to whatever experiences life had to offer me? I don't know. I can tell you the experience I'm definitely not open to is eating a piece of banana Laffy Taffy, because that stuff